What's up, y'all? I'm Evan Michael Lee. I was in Camp WWE. I'm a voice actor. I was also in Guilty Gear Strive as Nagoriyuki, and I'm in some other stuff that will eventually come out. We'll get to that later. I'm sitting here talking with Paul Castro Jr. We're talking about life. We're talking about voiceover. We're talking about what it means to be a good person, and it's going to be great. You should stick around. It's going to be fun. Stick around. It's going to be fun.
Hey everybody, today we have such an amazing guest. It's going to be really hard for you not to kind of be smiling like this the entire time because that's what his energy does. It's what he does to me. It is one of the most, we're going to talk about it in the show, so I'm not going to spoil what I say about Evan Michael Lee, a fantastic voice actor. Many of you know from Guilty Gear Strive. He's worked on Lost Ark, so many more things coming up very, very soon. He was one of the voices of Mark Henry in the WWE animated series that was worked on with Seth Green. So I get to learn so much more about him. We've been friendly. We've known each other for a little bit, and I was so happy to hear a lot about his story and, you know, how he found his voice and his strength and his passions and love for acting and the hard work and dedication he put into being able to work competitively in this industry, you know, getting an agent and manager, and eventually getting the attention of some pretty big people, namely a Mr. Mark Hamill, a little voice you might recognize as Darth Vader. I don't know if you can see that right there. That guy, yeah. If you're a fan of Star Wars, you got to hear this guy and what he does taking on the helmet. Evan Michael Lee coming up real soon for you all, so stick around. Evan Michael Lee on the Points of Experience podcast. So I don't know if you noticed already. Actually, probably can't because my microphone's in the way, but I wore this shirt for you too.
Yeah. I didn't even notice it. Yeah.
It says Savor the Moment. This is one of my favorite Darth Vader Star Wars shirts.
That is the correct shirt to wear. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Especially for you. I wore it, and this is hopefully something we can talk a lot about today because I was just telling you earlier, you're someone who I've wanted to have on the show for a minute now. There's a lot of people that are especially in the voiceover community that are great people, wonderful people, extremely friendly, that are inviting, that are positive energy. But the word that I would describe for you is something I don't think I would categorize anyone else in a very authentic way. Is I would say that like when I met you or saw you or any of the things that brought me to your awareness was, it's like radiating. You are a person that radiates. It's different than someone who has even just an aura or a positive outlook on things. You literally, like, from your personality to your smile to your energy, like especially when I got to meet you in person for the first time, like you have a radiating personality. It's something about it. It's like magnetic in a way, and you just feel. And another thing too is I get nervous a lot for episodes. Like I have not like people who intimidate me, people who I just get nervous about things because I want things to be good. I want to put on a good show. I want to have people have a good time. But for you, I just felt so at ease. Like I just felt I didn't have a sense of oh God, am I going to screw this up or anything? Like I just felt I'm like, oh no, Evan is just going to make me feel like completely at ease, and I do. So I thank you already for that.
Well, I'm learning in life to earnestly take compliments without pushing them away. So I'm going to first say thank you humbly. That really does mean a lot. That's really, really kind of you. I don't know. I feel like I've always more or less been this way. I was kind of a shy kid, for a little bit, but I've always been a really, I think a really sweet person. My dad always jokes and says Evan was always everyone's sweetheart. Everyone in school always loved him. That was the one thing I typically got from teachers and students was Evan is so lovely to be around. So thank you. I just want to put people at ease. I never want to make anyone feel uncomfortable. And I like to joke a lot, but I definitely like to see where the line is because I never want to be deliberately hurtful to another individual. There's enough people in the world like that. I don't need to get to that. Yeah.
I think that's such a great way of looking at things, and what a compliment for multiple people to say that you're just a lovely, sweet person. I mean,
I
gosh,
try.
that's
I try.
And I'm sure you are trying, and I would love to understand what that is for you, because I feel like a lot of people who know me, and I hope that this is the impression I give off to people, is that I am kind of the things that I was saying. I think I'm a positive person. I like to have fun. I like to do those things. I don't necessarily know if people would categorize me as being radiant, like the way that I would describe you. But like, because I think that that's something that is, I feel, an organic, inherent part of you that I'm curious where that comes from, or if it's not something that you believe was innately kind of given to you or that you've had for a long time. What are the things you're doing to kind of actively reinforce that type of personality that you have? Is it something you're conscious of and you're like, I'm working towards this, or what in your youth or even growing up as an adult, what gave you that type of outlook on life?
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, I spend a lot of time in here, and I'm a big fan of reading the room and just being self-aware. You know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes you have to ask yourselves, like, hey, like, am I delusional? Am I misreading the situation? Am I misreading myself? Am I wrong? You know what I mean? That's something that a lot of people don't want to admit. Like, hey, I could be in the wrong here. So I like to check in with myself a lot, and I will every so often will ask people around me for feedback of like, I wasn't too much, right? Or I didn't, say like the wrong thing, did I? I think it's good to get that sort of honest feedback, because I think that'll ultimately, guide you as to like who you are as a person, because sometimes our perception of ourselves doesn't always, match what people actually think of us. So
very true.
So I think I'm a nice person, but it's always good to check in with others to make sure, am I being kind? Am I being warm? Am I being, am I being an asshole? Like, I don't want to be any of those things. So it's like, I don't want to be bad. So I just want to be good. I want to put, good things out into the world. So
I think having that self-assessment is something that a lot of people overlook and they don't really necessarily do. And I think, I think the way that is structured might make people seem like, if I'm thinking that I might be doing something wrong, then maybe I am. And I think that's perfectly okay way of feeling, because to walk into any situation, whether it's a friend group or it's meeting someone for the first time or dinner or speaking with someone who works at a retail store, and you're just not, if you don't have the self-awareness to be like, I'm sorry, what I said was that maybe a little too, did I come on too strong? Was that offensive or any of those things? It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of like absolute strength. Yeah, you care and you want to grow.
Yeah.
And we all just assume that I think a lot of people assume that we just walk into a room and anything we say will kind of get that instant clarification on whether or not things are wrong or not. And sometimes people aren't able to articulate like, yeah, actually now that you mention it, you were acting a little bit this way, or, you were saying these things, and I was like, I just finished writing this book, and I was hoping that people wouldn't say anything about it, like, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But if you have that kind of personality where you're like, hey, you just seem very aware of, like, your surroundings, and that's very admirable. Like, where does that come from?
I think in the last, I don't know, let's just ballpark and just say the last 5 years, I've learned to relax into who you are as a person. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of times we have all these filters in front of us, and when sometimes we self-edit and we're afraid to say the wrong thing, or we're afraid to be our authentic self. You're just being your authentic self, just waking up and being like, hey, this is who I am, without trying to apologize for it, but with also not being too much. I think it's a balancing act. And then, so in the last couple of years, I've sort of gone inward and like, well, who are you as a person, Evan? And like, you are kind and you are, warm, and you are very inviting. And I like talking with people, I like hearing people's stories, and I like just being a good person. I think when I'm in a sour mood, I tend to just keep to myself, because I don't want to put that on other people. Like, there have been many moments where I'm like, you know what? I said yes to something, but like, I'm having a real rough day at it, So I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should bow out right now, because I don't want to thrust this on other people. And yeah, I think it's just taking a little survey and just seeing what worked for you, who you are, and what sort of the feedback life has given you over the years. And like, maybe it's time now to just like relax into like who you are. Maybe this is who you are. Maybe you do like nerdy stuff, and maybe, there are things years ago that you were maybe conformed to, that you weren't really into, but like you went with it anyway because of maybe environment or circumstances, and you're just like, this isn't me, and that's a really freeing feeling to be like, hey, oh man, that was like a light bulb moment for me. It's like, man, that is like a freeing feeling for all of us when you have this moment where you go, this isn't me. There's like some of the shackles just like fall off of you. You're just like, wow, I can walk away from this and I can go be my authentic self and really find true happiness.
Yeah, that's so empowering when you give yourself that freedom to walk away from the things that may or may not be giving you. And
without any like resentment or judgment or animosity towards whatever the environment you were, because like obviously it was a learning lesson. Like life was trying to tell you like, this ain't for you. Like you weren't meant to be here for too long. So like this is bye. And sometimes life has a way of like doing it for us rather than us having the wherewithal to just be like walk away.
And you also said something too. I read a book. It's called The Art of Happiness. It's about the Dalai Lama, and I think, especially when we talk about people, or specifically me talking with you right now, someone who I definitely perceive as a very positive energy. A lot of it comes to, and like you're saying, there's days where you're a little bit spicy. There's days you're not feeling whatever it is you might be feeling, and it's having that understanding that yes, I can feel all these things. All these things are validated. It's a way at which you present those. Like maybe it's not the best idea to go out to like I don't know, an intimate party where you have to be like really gregarious. And if you're like in a really bad mood, maybe for you, that's not the right like chemical combination. Maybe some people need to be taken away from like whatever they're dwelling on, and they like being with other people. But maybe for certain people, having the understanding about yourself to say, you know what, today I don't really want to burden anybody with what I'm going through today. Yeah. So then we don't have to like dump that sort of part of ourself that is authentic and is validated. It's very interesting that you put it that way, and I don't know if I've ever really kind of put that together for myself, but I try to do that similar thing in a way where it's like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't go out tonight. Maybe I just do need to stay in.
Yeah, and there's a lot of strength in honesty too. Like for example, like most of the time when we're all going through our day, people's like, "How are you?" What do we all say? "Fine, I'm good." Yeah. What if you're not fine? Would that really be the worst thing of saying, hey, you know what? Like, normally I'm okay, but today it's kind of a rough one. Here's, without maybe you don't want to go into all the details, but like, here's kind of the surface level of what I'm dealing with. Usually when I take that approach, most of the time people have tremendous amounts of grace. They're like, oh man, like I'm so sorry. Like, because there are things we can all relate to, Yeah. Everyone's had a bad day, or everyone's had a bad moment in life, or everyone's had like periods of time where you feel like just bad luck is just like coming down the pipeline. You're just like, you're in like a snowstorm, just getting bad luck. You're just like, so like it's nothing. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, like today's not a great day, but like, I can also acknowledge that better days are around the corner. Like I can acknowledge two things at once. Like, I mean, I'm feeling shitty right now, but like, I know it's not going to be this way forever. And like,
people get stuck in that vortex of the shit, as we are talking about it, like when if a thing goes wrong or a day is bad. And I think a great way of looking at things is that what you just said, there are, this too shall pass, it might be shitty right now, but tomorrow could lead to being one of the best days in your life. And if we're not open to that, I think then we create that friction and resistance and an environment for maybe that not to materialize if we're so stuck in whatever that negativity might be or whatever that hardship might be. It's like, listen, there are some things in life that are really hard to get through, and there's no denying that.
None.
But I think if we can, with certain things, have that assessment of saying like, I spilt the oat milk and I can't make my latte right now, and I'm pissed, and my morning is ruined, and I'm gonna let everybody know about it. But like,
can't reverse time.
It's like I can go to the store later and get it, or maybe I just go and buy one, and I have to spend the money today, and then maybe I don't do it tomorrow, and I make one from home. Like, a lot of people just get stuck in that vortex, and I've definitely had that in my life, and it's always encouraging when I hear people just reinforcing that, and it's hard to create that as a habitual thing you do in your life. And are you the type of person who has a routine of kind of checking in or things you do for your mental health, whether that's like positive affirmations or morning meditation or gratitude? Is there things that you do that help you keep in this mind frame you've said you've been kind of practicing the last 5 years?
Yes. Well, two things. One, I'm going to back up to what you said earlier. When it comes to that negative talk, some people, not everyone, but some people feel as though they deserve it. And what I always say to those people, I'm like, okay, if you feel like you deserve this, whose voice in your head do you hear? Is it your voice? Is it your mother? Is it your father? Is it your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend? Like, is it a friend? Like, whose voice do you actually hear saying, you deserve this?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I think that's when you get to the nucleus of that, that's when you really want to go deep and be like, what's that all about? What's that all about? Can you guys tell I've been to therapy before? Yeah. It works out. It works. I promise you. I promise you. Just give them the money. Just give them the money. You'll feel so much
indeed.
better. Yeah. You'll feel so much better. But like, you've been to my house, and like, on my back porch, I spend. Well, oh man, you should really see in the afternoon because the sun, almost like we have the most beautiful sunsets in this backyard, and a lot of times I'll just sit out here and I'll just like watch the sunset. But then I'll like my mother, I will sometimes talk out loud to myself. If anything's, it doesn't always have to be bad stuff. It could be like really great stuff. Like, 2021 had a really great professional year, had a really great. So like and I still am, not like I'm not, but like I was filled with a tremendous amount of gratitude. And at times it was very overwhelming. So it's like I was trying to like receive it, but like, again, I was like, I think my knee-jerk reaction is to like push it away, like don't take too much, But now I'm like trying to like earnestly just accept it. Don't make a big thing about it. Just be grateful. Live in this moment. There's gonna be better moments. There's gonna be terrible moments, but like this moment right here, just live in it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to live like in the present.
Yeah. That especially when there's some things that are going well, I think we oftentimes, that knee-jerk reaction to kind of push it away and kind of, especially in the arts, especially being an actor, specifically being a voice actor, I've absolutely felt that feeling of like, this is going to disappear like in a second. If I
wait for the other shoe to drop. Yep.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm waiting for that whole like, Paul, I know we recorded for 21 days and your last day is today, but we just don't like what we're hearing and we want to go in another direction. Like, I'm literally thinking that every time I walk into a session. I could have completed like recording on something, pickups. Literally there could be merchandise. I don't care, whatever there is. Yeah. I'm still waiting for kind of like the aha moment to be revealed because it's such a competitive and unbelievable career when things are going well. And it's hard to just really sit into that and be like, yeah, I did a good job. Yeah, I worked really hard and I deserve this. Yeah, I've put things in place that where it maybe seems like, wow, this just happened for you. But like, no, there's years of work. There's thousands of dollars of mental work to get to the point where I had the confidence to be in this position. And
like, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, like, as like you have to kind of hold on loosely to like a lot of this because things change in voiceover so quickly. And a lot of times it's out of our control. And sometimes they don't even give you a reason why.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to just live in the moment and just be grateful for this right here. And hey, if you get another run around at it, hey, happy surprise.
Heck yeah.
But I think there's a lesson in managing our expectations and, kind of take it one step at a time.
Yeah.
Or one day at a time.
Yeah. Whatever way you can make things manageable and for you to walk into each situation saying like, okay, I know that this is something that I'm doing right now, focusing on whatever that objective is right in front of you. That's something we talk about a lot on the show and dealing with kind of the stress and anxiety or the weight that's kind of put on these big jobs that you can fall into. And specifically kind of with you, I mean, you had this really, really great role in Guilty Gear, like that kind of exploded you in a way. And I would love to kind of take a step back to The one to interject to my own thought here, one of the things that I really was excited about chatting with you here is, just like myself, and we kind of talked about this, I know you said like voiceover was something that you always kind of had been thinking about, and you're like, I got to kind of kick myself into gear with this, maybe like 2019 or 2020, you said. I can't remember exactly what that was. And I think for me, I kind of was entering into the scene in the 2020 COVID times. I was one of those people that people grew to know me from that. But I would love to know for you, what was all of the things or whatever kind of timeline you can give me that kind of led you to this moment in 2020 or 2019 to say, I'm going to start taking voiceover seriously? What was kind of your life trajectory in terms of pursuing the arts to get you to that moment?
Oh, wonderful. Oh, I'm going to give you the full origin story.
Please. Right? That's what we want.
So like, I in high school, I had a buddy. I don't even know where he is in life now. I hope he's doing well. His name was Mike Oden. He used to do all these like little short films with the what are those little micro cameras or whatever.
DSLRs?
Yeah. This was back in like, years ago.
So maybe a camcorder, a DV camcorder.
Yeah. That was it. Listen to me aging myself.
I'm with you. I'm with you, man.
So, he would do all these like short films, and he always needed people to like act in them. And I never was an actor growing up. I didn't do theater. I didn't do anything. But like, he asked me to be in a couple of these, and I would, do what I can and whatnot. And I would like watch him edit it. And like one day, he just like kind of casually was like, "Hey, you're a pretty good actor." I was like, "Oh, thanks." Pushed it away. Didn't really think much of it. Graduated high school, went to college, almost left college because after my freshman year, I was like, I feel like I'm wasting my parents' money. I don't know what I want to do here. Like, I have like no interest in, and it was a good school, Auburn University. It's like, it was a great school. It cost a lot of money. So I'm like,
what were you studying?
Nothing. I was undeclared my freshman year.
Okay.
So I was just like, I think I should probably like abandon ship. So I was like, okay, let me
First sign of an actor.
Yeah. So let me jump on this website and let me see what majors they offer. And I see they have a theater program. And I thought back to Mike Oden. I said, Mike said I was a pretty good actor. And that was literally it. I was like, you know what? Let's just give it a shot. And I talked to the advisor, went over there. She was asking me kind of like, why do you want to be an actor? And I was just like, we're just kind of rolling the dice here, see what happens. Rolling the dice. Who am I? So then they were doing Galileo that year, and I auditioned for Galileo. And didn't know anything about like preparing a monologue or scene work or anything like that. But I was talking with some guys in the audience, and because this is going to set you up for later, somehow we got on Disney. And I don't know how we got on the subject of Disney, but somehow we got on The Lion King, and then we were just like talking about like, oh, it's such a great film. And then I was just like, look, Simba, everything the light touches is our kingdom. And I did this when I was 20, and they were like, wow, that was like pretty good. You should do that up, like you should use that voice up there. I was like, all right. And I did, and it worked. So I got cast in Galileo, my first play. I had like a few lines, and that's kind of what led me into that. And then like the theater department really liked me. Everyone kind of liked me, so I kind of was like doing show after show, and it was like a lot of fun. And then after college, I went straight to Chicago, and I was just doing theater. I was up there for 5 years just doing plays. Loved it. They even made me a company member at the Gift Theater. A company member there. Shout out to the Gift Theater. Yeah. And then after my time in Chicago, I was like, all right, am I going to go to New York or LA? And I was kind of over the cold weather because we just had like 2.5 blizzards the last couple winters in Chicago. I was like, I don't know about this cold weather thing, y'all. So I'm like, palm trees
East Coast
and the
is
beach.
crazy.
Yeah. I'm like, palm trees and the beach are sounding real appealing right now. So I came out here, and then within a couple of years, I ended up getting a manager, and I was, the actor's access. You're looking for things and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I saw that they were having an open call. See, I'm going to pause right there because this is why I'm always hesitant to give advice to voice actors, because I did everything in reverse. So I saw that they were having an open call for this cartoon show called Camp WWE. Yes, the WWE, like the wrestling organization. They're doing their own adult animated show. I've been a lifelong wrestling fan. I was like, oh, dang it. I hit up my manager. I said, yo, do you think you can get me an audition for this? I think I'd be really good for it. So she ends up getting me an audition. they had me go in and read for R-Truth. And I don't even remember what I did, but like I remember the reaction. It was the same people. It was Ruth Lambert, and I think it was the same people that do Rick and Morty and like all those shows. So this is in the before time when you had to go into audition.
Oh, those times.
Yeah. So I go in, I do my thing, and they're kind of just like, meh.
Did not see that going that way. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Same. See, going back to managing expectations. See, you're like, oh man, I'm gonna wow them. Nope. But I guess she liked me enough and said, hey, why don't you go out in the hallway and why don't you read this one? It was for Mark Henry. Oh, she's like, we'll call you back in a little while. I was like, cool. I go in the hallway and like all these dudes are doing like really, really, really high kid voices, and I'm like, I don't know if I can maintain that for too long. I was like, everyone's doing like a kid voice. You know what? I'm just going to make this kid sound like an adult. Like a grown-ass adult who, like, pays taxes and whatnot. Yeah. So I go in, and I'm like, reading all this, and I'm just making him sound like an adult. And they chuckled. I was like, great. They liked it. So I got a call back. It was in front of Seth Green and all of them over there. And so they had me read for like Vince McMahon and Triple H and The Undertaker. I read for Mark Henry again and The Rock and Stone Cold. I think they were just kind of like cycling us through all these people just to see if like we could be funny and like if we were, we could fit into this world of what they were looking for. And so I do all these rounds and then I get a final call back. It's just like me and maybe like 3 other guys. And I'm reading for The Rock and Mark Henry. And so I read for both of them and then nothing happened. I got a call or email later on saying I didn't get the part. I was all, yeah, bummed. Now, I'd already planned this trip to Vegas with some friends. I was like, whatever, I'm going to go to Vegas. So, doing the whole Vegas thing, which, you know how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get back in town, and my manager, she hits me up and is like, hey, I got an email saying they might want you for, like, some stuff. Do you by any chance are you available Friday? I was like, oh yeah. I'm thinking like additional voices, some background check, some wallets, I'm thinking that, right? So like I'm like, whatever, hit me up. So I'm like taking a nap, right? And then all of a sudden I feel like my phone vibrate. I look over, it's my manager, and it just says, call me, like exclamation mark. I'm like, So I call her and she's like, so congratulations, you have been awarded the role of Mark Henry on Camp WWE. I'm like, and I remember, just woke up from a nap. So I'm like, huh? What'd you say? And she's like, you're on the show. Boom. Waterworks. I'm talking like the River Jordan flowing out of my face. I am weeping. Cause this is like my first like big thing.
Yeah.
Pounding the pavement for a while. I'm like, oh man, I'm on a cartoon show. I was like, oh, man, I cannot wait to tell my parents. And, I'm weeping. And so I go in, I do the thing. Me and Seth, we talk for like half an hour. And we're just talking about like wrestling. And he's like asking me like where I'm from and whatnot. We ain't even talk about the show. We're just talking about like random things. And then he's like, all right, so you wanna get in there and do it? I was like, I guess, So I do it, and it's great. They loved it. Like I was like, hey, this is like my first like voiceover thing ever. They're like, really? I was like, what? Yeah, I never done this. But like also like I've been doing theater for a while, so like I at least had that foundation.
Yeah.
So I leave and I go to my car and I sit there and I'm like, It's only a matter of time, Evan, before they figure out that you actually don't know what you're doing. It's only a matter of time. I was like, if you're going to do this like in life, then like you should probably get some classes. So after, the whole filming cycle was done, I started taking some voiceover classes, getting some training. And then I kind of stopped for a while, life stuff.
Yeah.
And then around 2017, 2018, I started going to E3, and I started seeing in the before times where we can go to E3. Oh, I know, but I think they're coming back in person. We'll see.
I hope
so too. So I started going to E3, and I started seeing all of these like trailers for new games and whatnot.
Yeah,
and the acting is just like top tier, and I'm just like, this is really good. And I haven't been doing voiceover for a couple of years now.
Yeah,
and I'm like, this is really good. And like I've always loved video games. Like I've been playing since I was a kid, and like my parents used to hate it, even though they would buy them for me. And like I'm like, you know what? I should really get back into voice. So I'm looking at all these like games. I'm like, I should really get back into voice. You know what? I'm gonna get back into voiceover. So like 2018, 2019. Yeah, it was like 2018. I get back on the horse. You know, I'm doing voiceover classes. It's going great. 2019, I'm doing more. And I'm like, all right, end of 2019, this is it. This is going to be my year. 2020.
Yeah.
And then 2020 happened. Gotcha. Yeah. Life had different plans. Yeah. So I say all that to say that 2020 for me actually was like a blessing in disguise because I was in class already. We switched to remote very quickly. And when the last class was over, I closed my laptop. I went to my roommate and I said, hey, we should build a booth in our house. You have talked about wanting to build a voiceover booth since, forever. I'm not getting back into voiceover. Like it's going, pretty great right now. We can't go anywhere. You know what I mean? Like life has literally all shut down. I'm like, we can't go anywhere. So I'm like, we should do this now. Otherwise, this is something we're just going to talk about forever. Because what I mean? We never pulled the trigger. It was like, let's just do it. Like we got nothing but time. So like, all right. So we went to Lowe's. We got all the materials. We, built this booth that I'm sitting in right now. And I was like, okay, all right. We got the booth up. We got the mic. All right, I should probably get a demo, right? I should get a demo. Yeah. I'm gonna make a demo.
That sounds like the next step I should do.
Yeah. So I made up some friends. I get my commercial demo made first, and then one of my mentors, she was like, yeah, she'll help me make my animation demo. So I got that under control. I was like, all right, we got the demos, and I don't know how to find none of these auditions. You know what I mean? I don't know how to find none of these. I'm like, what do I do? I should probably get an agent. I should get an agent. So let me hit up my mentor. I was like, because I had been doing one thing a day. And that was the agreement I made with myself. Like, Evan, if you're going to do this, you got to do at least one thing a day. Like, whether you're looking up agencies or microphones or casting directors or, studios, like video game studios, or you just got to do one thing. You look up other actors. I did that too. So a lot of y'all out there, I knew who you were before you knew me. So I was like, yeah, I know who you are. So I'm like, all right, I'm doing all this. I'm making like momentum, and like voiceover is just like, at this point, it is just in the atmosphere. It is just swirling around me.
Yeah.
And I'm watching, what is that show? VO Buzz Weekly. Thank you.
Oh, sure. Chuck Duran and Stacey Diaz one, yeah.
And I see this guy. His name is Dean Panero. Yeah. And so I was like, oh man, like I like his energy. I like this seems like a good guy. Like I should probably hitch my wagon up to this guy. I think I should. I'm putting that on the universe. So I tell my mentor, I was like, hey, like I'm looking for agents. I see, there's like this one. I was like, but I think this Dean Panero one might be the one I should go with. Like, but it's hard to like just kind of send your stuff out there and for people. And she was like, Dean, like she said, like almost like shocked and like surprised and like almost questioning. I was like, yeah. It's like, oh, I've known Dean for like 15 years. Let me email him. That's how it happened, y'all.
Wow.
She's like, all she said was like, here's his stuff. Are you interested? And he wrote back, I'm very interested. And that's how it happened. And I got with him in like October 2020. I was like, yes. So we're like getting all these auditions. And I ain't booking nothing. Right? Dims the breaks, right? That's how it be. And then January of 2021, it just all took off.
Yeah.
Just as a commercial, we got our first video game. Right after that first video game, which it ended up being Lost Ark. Right after that, we got Guilty Gear. And we'll get to that, I'm sure, at some point. And then I'm getting some other things that are coming down the pipeline that I will announce when the time is right. And,
yes.
Like it was just like it really kind of snowballed and I really kind of hit the ground running. In a lot of regards, I really still kind of feel like the new kid on the block, but I think that's just my own.
Yeah.
I will probably check in with myself at some point about that on the back porch watching the sunset. I'm like, right. Like, are you the new kid? Because, like, you've been here for a minute. And I know that was a very, like, rambled version. But,
no.
Yeah, that's how I got here.
It's, my gosh, you said so much stuff that, I mean, obviously, being somebody that was able to do something at a very, very high level before they even had committed to like whatever this pursuit of your focus became, which was voiceover at the time.
Yeah.
That is so impressive. And I think it obviously took a lot of you knowing a lot about yourself. You had to capitalize on an opportunity that you saw. And it's kind of like, I know wrestling. I am obsessed with this. You also took a risk in the way that you were reading for that character, and whatever you were doing, bringing about yourself led you to getting that opportunity. And then you had to have the foresight to say, I know what I just did is a fluke in a way. This doesn't happen for everybody.
Don't happen to everybody. I
need to create the foundation to sustain that. And you're talking years of classes. You're talking not even booking as soon as you get your first agent, and having even putting yourself in a position to say, I'm going to ask my mentor. That for many people, they don't even have that foundation set for themselves, where they're not working with somebody, or they don't know somebody who is in the industry at whatever level. And by mentor, this doesn't mean like if you're a writer, you need Stephen King telling you what to do. You don't need Mark Cuban telling you what to do. You just need somebody who is above you and is hopefully doing something that you want to do in some capacity or another, or has done, that can help guide you. And you can, and that has been a crucial thing for me in my life. One of my mentors, Frank Deal, anytime I get something that I'm thinking about, or like I'm questioning, or I need a second opinion on, I ask that person.
Yeah.
More often than not, they help me just become that bounce board for me. And it's so important. And I wish there was more like official things through SAG that created kind of like a mentorship thing. And maybe in the future, that'll be something I become passionate about. But it's like,
I hear
it's so helpful having a mentor. And just hearing your story was so inspiring. And it's crazy. It's crazy the way you're kind of setting yourself up for like failure. And then you're like, oh no, I got this. And then, I'm going to do this. And nope, pandemic. It's and the fact that you think of yourself as the new kid on the block, it's I still think of myself that way too. So it's only a sign that you are somebody who is constantly searching to push yourself, constantly looking for the next thing, understands the reality of this industry, and that, things aren't forever, and it takes constant hard work. There's very few people who can sit back and relax and wait for the roles to roll in, so to speak.
And to be so lucky, to sit back and just like the roles are just coming to you and whatnot. Two of my teachers in college, when we were all graduating, I think unbeknownst to them, they both said this exact same thing to me at different times. They've said, you have one of those very teachable spirits, Evan. Like, please, please, please never lose that. And I think that's really stuck with me, because anytime I'm doing any gig, I act like I don't know what I'm doing, because I want the directors, because I may learn something new. And every time I do like a new thing or whatever, I'm like, oh, I never thought to like do. I'm like, I got my little pen out. I'm like taking notes. I'm like, oh, I got to remember that. Like, that's a good idea. Okay. So I'm like, yeah. No, I'm always searching, because this, as you know, this industry is always changing. Yeah. Always changing. So like, the second you think you have it all figured out, I'm like, you will shoot yourself in the foot.
And that's one thing too. I think people, especially I've been in this position before, where especially if it's like a newer director or somebody who maybe hasn't had as much experience as you in some capacity, if they're trying to tell you something, there's a gut reaction to kind of be like, don't tell me what to do. I know what I'm doing. Or like, you think I don't know this? You think I'm not good? Don't patronize me or belittle me. But
because it's not about me. Yeah. And it's not even really about, this is just me speaking for me. It's not about me. As the actor, this is not about me. This isn't even about the character I'm playing. This is about me helping push the story forward. Yeah. Whatever story we're trying to tell, we got to push that story forward. And the second I make this about, I'm the star, I'm the lead, and like, it's all about me. Oh God, please, someone hold me accountable and tell me to knock it off.
Say, hey, wake up, buddy.
Yeah, because it's not about us. It's about these beautiful stories we're trying to tell.
Exactly, and it can seem intimidating, or it can seem like an ego check. But you like you said, you lose that opportunity if you don't want to be an eternal student of the craft. And it's probably something you've learned from theater. There's always something more you can mine. The more you give yourself that opportunity to be open to someone's advice or insight, the more you could learn something that could affect your art for forever. You might pick something up that just influences you and maybe it influences you daily. Maybe it influences you in one specific role that you haven't even thought about yet that you're soon to come in the future. It's I've learned so much in voiceover by not, I had done so much in New York, tons of promo, commercial, I've done animation, and when I came to LA I had that same kind of fork in the road where I was like, I can either act like I know, like, hey, listen, don't tell me what I'm doing, or I could be like, listen, please,
Paul Castro Jr., y'all.
Recognize.
Flip the table.
But I had that same thing with you, is like, I want to, like, any tip or trick you can tell me, because I guarantee there's something here that I don't know, and I want to be better. And you have to be better because it's so competitive. So if you shut yourself out to all that, like, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah, it's you can kind of tell when you meet someone pretty quickly. It almost radiates off them that they think they have everything figured out and they don't need your advice, or they don't need your help, or I'm like, okay, and you know what? Maybe that's just where they are in life. So I try to have a little bit of grace for people who do behave that way, because I'm like, how they're behaving has nothing to do with you. It's not about you. It's whatever is going on within them. I'm not a shrink, but like, it could be insecurity. It could be, a number. It could be a host of reasons. So, yeah.
It's tough. It's tough because, you want to make sure that you have the balance of confidence to know that you can do what you're doing and to sustain you through a job that may be intimidating. But you also need to have that vulnerability and childlike nature where you don't know everything, because if you become a stubborn actor, that's a very easy way to kind of put a very easy pinch on the tail end of your career, where people are like, I don't want to work with this person if they don't want to hear my feedback. If they're not directable, I don't want to work with this person.
They don't have a teachable
every time I'm trying to give them a note, it's always something else. It's always a combative. And I've worked with other people. I've been in group recording sessions where there's an actor, where every time there's like a note given, they're kind of like, yeah, but I was doing this because actually my character wouldn't do that. And then you could see the director or the producer just being like, I'm never working with this person again.
Yeah. It's like, listen, we're trying to move this along. You're asking a lot right
and you're burning money. Like, literally, you're wasting everybody's time. And you have that energy to me where I get that you're so curious about a lot of things, and it's something I recommend all the time on this show, and you were already doing it. It's like, you're absorbing podcasts, you're constantly taking classes. That's like the things that I keep trying to preach here, and even for me, like, this is an informative podcast for the listeners, but selfishly, I'm listening to everyone's story going, what can I take from this to make me better?
Yeah. And it's like, the thing is, like, two things about that. One, from my roommate, and who's also one of my best friends. He has constantly shown, like, through example, by doing, being of service to others. And I think that is the one of the greatest ways that will keep your ego in check, because if you wake up every day and ask, what can the world give me, instead of what can I give the world, you know what I mean? Like, it's really kind of indicative of who you are. So it's like, instead of asking for so much, like, how about you let life yield to you what is meant for you?
Yeah. Beautiful, man. That's such and there's so many different ways you can do that. And people think, especially in an artistic pursuit like acting or voice acting, you gotta constantly be like, I gotta get the next thing, or I gotta make sure I'm auditioning for this, or I gotta make sure that I know about this, or people know about me here. It's like, what kind of value can you bring to anybody else? And then you never know what value they could bring to you.
Exactly.
It's like, let the blocks build themselves. Stop trying to just constantly reach for the top rung on the ladder. Like, take those next steps.
I was just about to say that. Everyone is playing the end result. The fame, the recognition, I cannot wait to announce this or whatnot. It's like, how about, like you said, just build the blocks, or like I was saying earlier, just do one thing a day.
Yeah.
Just do one thing a day. Because I even watched some interviews with, like, on-camera actors, and the advice they give others and sort of their journey and like the things they've gone through in their personal life. So like, I love acting and I love hearing from actors and I love hearing about their lived experiences, because I think there's always like a kernel of like a teachable moment in that, something that like we can all carry with us. And I'm like, And I see a lot of people in this town, and I don't want to get on this whole like bashing actors and whatnot, but like there is something to be said about people who do want to be actors but yet aren't taking the necessary steps to do so. And I don't know what that blockage is. You know, I think there might be some people who like more of the idea of being an actor than
very much
putting in the work. And then there's some who just, have to work at it a little bit more. And there's, nothing wrong with that. But you have to work at it. No one is going to hand unless you come from like a famous actor or director or producer, like most of us ain't going to be handed a career. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with nepotism either. Like, I'm not even hating on that, because like no one of us get to pick who we're born into. But for the rest of us, it's like, you're going to have to kind of grind at this for a minute.
Yeah, and especially with that, you see a lot of people who focus their anger or their frustration on people who are either born into a family of actors or directors or things, as opposed to saying, okay, how can I make myself better than these people? How can I be so good it's undeniable? How can I create a sector of what I'm good at that nobody else is good at? Or what kind of, again, value can I bring that people haven't seen, or that we're finding that there is a need for? That's such a better way of utilizing your day and your time and your energy. And doing one thing a day could be that, and it could be as easy as, like you said, searching up casting directors, actors, podcasts, all these things that you have access to. Everyone, the biggest thing is like, how do I audition for X? And you could literally, like, how do I audition for The Simpsons, right? It's like, if you're already thinking there, as opposed to like, how do I get into class with an acting teacher who is going to set the groundwork for me to understand the fundamentals of acting, as well as create a tool set for me to be able to work within any particular situation that might be thrown my way. That's
and also not be afraid to push me a little bit.
Yeah. Oh gosh, pushing you outside of your boundaries. I mean, that's a whole other, that's like the next block, that you move into. And these are all tangible things that you can work upon. And so many people just want that end result. And it's, it shows you kind of what they're in it for really quickly if you see them.
Yeah, because y'all know, it's like you hear people's like, well, like I audition all the time and like I don't get cast or things like how come it's not working out for me? How come these things aren't happening for me? And it's like, that's the problem. You keep asking yourself, why aren't these things happening to me? Me. What do you give to anyone else?
Yeah.
And it's really indicative of your character. It's like you just ask, and you don't give anything back. And not even for the sense of wanting something in return. Like, you should be of service to others, because that's how we're going to make this world a better place. And that's not just some like Snapple pop thing. I genuinely mean that. Like, what do you do for others? There's a lot of bad people in this world, and we got to like offset that, Yes.
Oh gosh. I mean, very much so. You said something that kind of just, imagine if we all looked at bookings, or like the process of what it is to be an actor auditioning and things, and instead of saying, why didn't I book that, versus why wasn't I of service to this project? And that could have many different answers. I didn't have the correct skill set for it. I wasn't directable enough. My voice type was just not right for it, as opposed to thinking like, why isn't the world rewarding me?
Yeah. Aren't I wonderful? Yeah.
Like, why does the world hate me? Like, that's what those other things are indicative to create. If you keep thinking, why didn't I get this part, as opposed to like, why wasn't I of service to this project in the correct way? Or, that's such a way better way of thinking of things.
Oh, yeah.
So, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the person who is more talented gets the part.
Exactly.
That's not necessarily what it is. Like there's so many different reasons, especially looking like on camera. You might look too much like the brother or the sister to the love interest. Like, there's just so many you might sound exactly like another character that's already been cast. Like, there's just so many reasons for why you might not get a job.
Here's a little story, and I don't know if this is going to make people upset or maybe put their minds at ease a little bit, but I had a friend. She wasn't even like the main casting director. She was like the assistant casting director. This is in the before times. There was some project, and this guy walks in, does the audition. I guess it was great or whatever. He leaves. As soon as he's out the door, the casting director grabs his headshot, rips it up, throws in the trash. And my friend looks to them and like, what? And the casting director goes, he just looks way too much like my ex-boyfriend. Do you understand what we're saying? Sometimes it is completely out of... You could have the best monologue, the best audition, the best read, and like, you know what? You look like someone from the past, and I ain't really healed yet.
And I don't feel like watching that every single day and being reminded of my ex.
Yeah, I don't feel like watching you shine. I don't want you to shine. It be like that, y'all. It be like that. And it's like, there's nothing you can do. You got to make peace with it. You just have to make peace with it. And a lot of times now that, I'm in the trenches of voiceover, I'll see like all my colleagues, like it'll be something I'll maybe audition for, but then I'll see who gets it. And I'll go, that was the correct choice. Even if I thought my audition was great or I didn't think it was great, whatever, I'll be like, oh yeah, that was absolutely the right choice.
And it's not to say that the opposite couldn't happen, where someone just might be friends with someone and they're not right for the part and they're not talented. Not to say that those things don't happen, but like, what are you gonna do that is helpful for you in your career to change that some director or producer decided to be a little bit selfish or a little bit of an asshole, and they just chose to go with their friend over some like you who might have had a phenomenal... Like, is you sitting around and going like this all day gonna help you become a better actor and make sure that your next opportunity, that you're so undeniable that the entire team is looking around saying, hey, I know that that's your friend, but like... Evan fucking killed this.
Killed it.
Like, are we really all gonna sit here and say, yeah, like, hire your friend over this person who was just... to their core understood this character? Like, that's the thing I want to work towards. I want to work towards that position. I want to be so good that even nepotism can't get in my way.
Facts. So like, I've thought about this question over the last couple of years, and I think when people ask like, what's like some like advice you could give like to an actor or whatever, I think I have two things. One, first in no particular order. First one, remember to breathe. Breathe in what it is you're saying. These are not just words on a paper. This is a person. This is someone with a lived experience. You need to breathe in what they're saying and let that inform you how you feel. Second one, manage your expectations. That's really it. Like, you have to be in this for the long haul. And a lot of times, like everything we've been talking about, it's a lot of times it's out of your control.
Yeah.
And like, even when you thought, yo, my audition was great, why are they giving it to, Joe Schmo? I'm like, maybe Joe Schmo was friends with the director, or, maybe Joe Schmo really needed this because Joe Schmo is going through something in his life, and this might have been the thing that like kept Joe Schmo with us. Yeah.
You have such a good outlook on things already, which is so important, and I think it's only going to like lead to a very fruitful career for you, as we've already seen. And I want to talk about some of these things. But what was it about you that at that moment in your life where you decided to pursue voiceover? I mean, obviously, you're a fan of all these games and things. If you were doing theater, what really kind of motivated that like kind of heel turn to say, this is the road I want to walk down, versus something that you were pursuing theater or TV and film? What was it about voiceover that really was like, this is the calling right now?
The one thing that, since I started this whole acting thing, that is, I don't want to say haunted me, but it's sort of been a ghost that has followed me, is everyone has said the exact same thing. Evan, you have a really nice voice. You have a really great voice. And pretty much since college, I've always just like, thanks, push it away.
Yeah.
Never took it seriously. Never like, whatever. Then it was around like Camp WWE's when like, it was my last callback. And I was in the booth, and like Seth was like there. He's like, yeah, the reason we brought you back, Evan, is because like you had like really great auditions, and like you got a great voice, whatever. But like you're a really good actor. And I was like, you know what I mean? Like this is coming from like a legit famous person. I'm like, lip quiver, don't do it, don't do it. So I was like, okay. So like, I was meant to be here, like to be here. Like, don't push it away, Evan. Just like live in this moment. And then once, the video games started coming back around, like even at like all the various day jobs, he was like, you have like a really nice voice. In fact, I think at my old job, I think I even changed the voicemail when they asked me to change the voicemail of like, like, hi, welcome to Mickey's in West Hollywood. No one is available, blah, 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 whatever the speech was. But yeah, that's really the thing that followed me. And then I said, okay. And I've mentioned this to friends a few times. It's that like I think in life, no matter not just voiceover or whatever, but I think life leaves all of us breadcrumbs. Mm-hmm. You just have to like be aware of them, because I'm like life is trying to lead you to something magnificent, and like what are the breadcrumbs life has left me? It's like my voice, something that I've kind of been insecure about, like when I was a kid, because like core memory unlocking right now. I remember in second grade someone made fun of the way I spoke, and at the time I was like, but we're like 7 and like we all sound the same, you know what I mean? And it was the first time in my life that it was thrusted upon me that we are different, because up until that I always treated everyone as if we're the same. Like, we're just kids, and like, if you liked video games when I was in elementary school, you were my best friend. Yeah. I was like, come on over. Best friends. Yeah. I'm like, come on over, like grab a controller, like let's just play for like 5 hours until your mom or dad comes picks you up, and then let's do it again sometime. Yeah. So like growing up, I was always very insecure about how I spoke. And then which led me to being the kid in school who like didn't want to raise their hand. Always like, oh, don't let the teacher call on me. And inevitably, the teacher would call on me, and I was like, I don't want to speak out loud. And then, like, even if you knew the answers, it's like, I don't want to speak out loud. I don't want anyone thinking whatever. So it's ironic that I'm in voiceover now, but when I look back on my life, I think the writing was on the wall that I would end up in front of a microphone eventually. Like, video games, comic books. Like, when I go back home, my mom, actually, I have it on my shelf out here. I found like a lot of my old action figures that I swore she threw away, but she's like, no, I kept them. I was like, yeah. And I'm in my basement, y'all, just like sad tear. I'm like, this is my life. You know what I mean? So I'm like, man, yeah, I of course I would end up here. And like, that's what I'm talking about. The breadcrumbs. Yeah. Life has been leading me these things since I was a kid, and I just didn't realize it. So it's like, I think when we get older, you got to look back on it.
What was it about video games and cartoons that you... Good?
It was like a fly in here. I was like, yeah. Like sometimes when I see like a fly, I like turn into a house cat, and I'm like, I think he flew up into the corner. Oh, I see him. I'm gonna let him fly out.
I was like, I hope that there is not like bad news that I've just interrupted on the horizon.
Hold on, I'm gonna fan him out of here real quick.
Get out of here!
Yeah. You get out of here. Oh wait, hold on. Oh, he won't leave.
I love this. We have
Yeah, you're seeing how I really am, y'all. Whatever. He's up there.
Dude, I get flies in my studio all the time, my booth, and I'm like, this is going to be the bane of my existence. Me and this fly. It's like the Breaking Bad episode of where it's just the fly constantly tormenting me. But I want to ask you, what was it about video games and kind of like cartoons or comic books that you were so attracted to as a kid that still kind of fuels you today? Like, what is it? Can you pinpoint whatever it is about playing games or just the idea of them that you really kind of love and that influences your life?
Yeah. I really didn't like reading as a kid. You know what I mean? Like, your parents try to get you to read books, and like I read a little bit now, but like when I was a kid, like I didn't like reading, but like, man, put me in front of a Sega, done. I'm there 8-9 hours. You know what I mean? Like, and so like looking back on it, like, the Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Mario, obviously. What's it? Double Dragon, Battletoads, like everything. I played everything, and all of that, like, even though it was like Sega and like Super Nintendo, whatnot, any like little voiceover thing, I didn't realize it was just getting downloaded into my brain like over and over and over and over again. It's like, oh man, I really, I love the whole like round one fight, like I was like, it like stuck with me, so.
And then how cool for the future for you to be a part of a series like that with Guilty Gear. Was that opportunity? I mean, obviously you had worked on like Lost Ark already. You'd worked on the WWE show. What was the whole Lost Ark experience and getting that audition to being like, holy shit, I'm actually going to be a part of this amazing franchise and a game that you probably love and enjoy yourself?
Well, like with Lost Ark, I like, as you audition for things and then like you have no idea what you audition for. It could have been ages ago. And so I remember just getting an email saying, hey, are you free Friday? And I was like, yeah, I think so. Like, what's up? And they're like, oh, we have a booking for a video game for you. It was like my first one. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, there's like it's some code name. They won't tell us what it is. But like, you free Friday? I was like, yes. And like, I'm excited and like nervous because I'm like, oh man, like I'm walking into this situation. And I don't know like what I'm doing, but like I'm really excited because it's like my first video game. Like, yeah. And then it went great. It went wonderful. I still don't know who I am. I still don't know who I am. Yeah. I never found out. So it is what it is. But then with Guilty Gear, when I remember getting that audition, and I've said this to a few people, I thought it was like an action game. Because like it didn't really have like too much information. It had like the little rendering. And it had like, a very, very brief description of like who this guy was. I was like, oh, okay, like, we'll give it a shot. And it had just like a couple of lines, So like, I do my thing. And it was like maybe like a week and a half later, I got the email saying I got the part. And then when I saw the actual name, it was like Guilty Gear Strive. And I was like, wait, Guilty Gear? I was like, Google. I was like,
that sounds familiar.
Wait, yeah. I was like, I remember that game. I never played it growing up because, again, I was like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Tekken. I was like, I remember this game. I remember seeing this game. I was like, oh, okay. So I go like jump on YouTube and I see some clips because I guess it revealed Evo like the year before or whatever. So I was like, oh man, this is like an anime like fighting game. I was like, okay. So I got like really jazzed up and I was like, okay, I need to bring it. You know what I mean? This is like Evan, like this is a full circle moment. You know what I mean? Like you grew up playing fighting games and now you're about to be in one. What? So I'm like, I have to bring it. I cannot, no slouches. So I did it. We had like 4 sessions and we all filmed it. We all recorded like in our individual homes. And I did like 2 days in a row. And then I was like a little, because you're doing like battle yells and death, death screams and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so Valerie was like so sweet. She was like, why don't we just take like 4 or 5 days, get some rest, drink some tea, blah, blah, blah. We'll circle back. And so we did, and we got it all done. It was wonderful. And then like the night before the game came out, I was like, I got like a little nervous. I was like, oh no, like what if I was bad? You know what I mean? Like doubt and like crept in and like put their feet on the sofa. I was like, oh no, what if I'm bad? What if people hate it? No. And then I think someone posted the audio of my character like hours before like it came out. And I was like, do I do it? I was like, do I read the comments? I was like, oh.
I'm not going to do it.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Okay, I'm going to do it. I did.
Yeah.
I did. I was like, oh, what am I doing? What am I doing? And there was only a couple at the time, but they were all like pretty positive. Like they were all like good. I was like, okay. Because I had like, they sent us the little, the thing that we can use to promote it. They had a little headshot with our character to post on Twitter. Like, so I had that and I was like, okay, that makes me feel good. Okay, I'm going to post this tomorrow. And then, it's going to be fine, Ev. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And so I posted it. And, that was like one of the most surreal and one of the best days of my life.
Wow.
Arguably. Because it really, it solidified a lot of hard work and a lot of managing my expectations and kind of confirmation that, okay, I guess I can do this.
Yeah.
I can do this. All right, people are saying nice things. People are sharing it. People are, congratulating me. I was like, oh, this feels kind of nice. This feels kind of nice. So it was a very validating day. I shed many a tears on my back porch watching the sunset, as I'm known to do. As I've been known to do. But I always say the Guilty Gear has been the gift that keeps on giving. Like I was not prepared for how much this character meant to people, and thus being in this game, kind of getting like a bird's eye view of the fighting game community, and just to see that kind of reception and that sort of the joy it brings people, to see that level of representation made me feel good.
Yeah, and that it's a valid, validating feeling, because it's one of those things where it's really hard, and I think a lot of people give the suggestion, like, don't ever read the comments, don't look at see what people say, and it's one of those things.
If you can avoid it, yeah.
By all means, like, gosh, but there's something about, because while this is an extremely, it's not an objective business, the quality of something. It is so subjective. What might be somebody's favorite voice, favorite character, favorite representation on film, screen, theater, in a game, might be somebody's absolute. They might detest it with every fiber of their being.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunately, many of what keeps people employed is if there's an overwhelming or enough people that say, I liked this, I think this is good. And especially like when you're entering into a field, it's hard to ignore that curiosity of, okay, did I meet the benchmark of what people are considering what is enjoyable in this medium,
Yeah.
Because I don't think if you were like, you got booked on something, maybe you did one thing and then what you did in the studio was a complete opposite of what you were doing, or the director didn't really understand the vision. It's hard to not know, okay, was it me who was not on the mark? Was it the vision of the direction? Where can I improve? I'm very analytical of my performances in terms of like I like to watch what I've done, not from like look at me, look at how great I sound.
Yeah.
Wait till the world gets a load of this. It's so far from that. It's so far. It's everything that I'm saying is, okay, what did I have a clear intention? Did I have an objective in that moment? Did I understand that previous circumstance, or was I just kind of like shooting from the hip at that moment? Did I not really understand? Should I have asked the director something here where I was afraid to? Yeah. That's where I'm analyzing the moments, and it's hard in video games sometimes because it's like 20 hours of content sometimes or whatever it might be. It's like I don't freaking remember what I was thinking in that moment, but yeah. I like to review the tape.
Yeah, my mentor always says, get out of the room. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying before, which means is like, get out of your head. Like, you're not here to be in your head. Like, you're here to be the character. Like, live in this moment. Be present. Like, walk in their shoes. But, like, forget about what the director... They obviously hired you, so they obviously like you. So when you stand in front of the mic, you can already divorce your mind of that. It's like, okay, now it's my time to be... Soldier number 3, or Nagoriyuki, whoever I gotta be that day, doesn't matter. So
that's a great way of looking at things, and show up and do the job you were hired to do. I mean, that's the way you would approach it in any other industry. So why would this be any different?
There's to all the you hear all the takes and whatnot, and you're like, oh man, sometimes you think like, oh, that's the take they chose. You know what I mean? It's like, I thought I did it like a lot better than that. Not to say that the one they chose was bad, but it's like, oh man, I remember I like really kind of like ripped that cord on that one. But okay.
There's been many jobs where in the moment it was a quick learning experience, especially getting into video games where you're doing a lot of 3s in a row. And I remember when I was starting out in the first couple of games I did, where I would do my 3 in a row and my brain couldn't help but say, oh, C was the best. And then hear the director go A, and me go, really? I thought C was the best. Okay, I forget that. Next take, ABC. Yeah, ABC. And then I go, okay, B was the best one on that one. And they go C. I'm like, I have such a poor understanding of what this is. Like, what is good? And I'm like, and then at that moment for me, I had to just trust the directors. I'm like, clearly, I just got to do my job and stop trying to be the director, you know?
Yeah, because on one hand, you're thinking to yourself, you're like, are we hearing the same thing? Like, clear. You're like, C was the best take. You're like, you're going with B? You're like,
yeah.
All right. Okay.
But you have to trust. You have to trust the directors. You have to trust that they understand the vision. Maybe what you might think is the best performance for you doesn't contrast with what the other scene partner did that well. So there's so much that goes into these things that you have to trust your directors.
Exactly, because you don't know whatever. Yeah, exactly what you said. Like whatever character you're talking to, you know, their A line might match your B take, even though you thought C was a better one. Like no, like that'll actually flow a lot better, and that will, like I said, help push the story.
Yes,
because at the end of the day, it ain't about us.
Yep,
it's not about us.
Unfortunately,
but I get the impulse of like, you're like, okay.
Yeah, it was a very quick thing for me to learn, and it was extremely helpful to get that out of the way very early, so that way I could understand and just be like, oh yeah, because it's a much different medium than when like you're doing theater or TV and film, where oftentimes you're doing your performance and you're never hearing or seeing the playback as the actor.
Nope.
You're removed from that process. You do your job, and then you don't really, I mean, maybe you yourself will say, I know I put my all into that take, but you're not getting that kind of live decision making happening before your eyes that can influence you during the process. You know, very rarely is a director going, okay, I want all of up to that line, and then we're going to use another take because the rest of that was shit. All right, take two. And you're going, hey, what was so bad about what I just did? Now I have to do that.
That just made me think of something. Could you imagine if voiceover was filmed in front of a live studio audience?
Right? That would be so crazy and exciting and ridiculous at the same time.
I know. Now that I said it out loud, like, I don't know if I would love that or hate that. And I say that as someone who's come from the stage, so I love being on stage. But it's like,
I know
voiceover is such a it's like someone watching your rehearsal process for a play or a musical. It's like, I don't want people thinking I'm bad, but you know,
especially because you don't get the materials oftentimes. Like, you know, you're doing a play, you're reading that play months beforehand usually, or at least weeks. You've run this thing. Voiceover, it's oftentimes cold reads right off the page, and you're figuring out the character like in the microseconds before you say that line. You're crafting things at a very fast pace that's different than anything else.
Yeah, because a lot of times, a lot of you know, up and coming voice actors, you know, have a lot of questions about it, and they sometimes wonder that of like, how come, you know, you can't ask questions or this and that. I'm like, well, it's a 2-hour session, so like we ain't got time for like a lot of backstories. So like whatever the director tells you, you just kind of have to trust them and just kind of go with it. If they say this person is, you know, angry or, you know, this, that, and the third, or whatever their backstory may be, it's like, okay, well, I need to, you know, dig down deep, find wherever that lives in me, and bring that to the surface.
Yeah, connect very quickly to whatever it is that you can latch onto. And that's what's different than a lot of the other mediums. I want to make sure I talk about this too, because it's something that I mean, obviously I'm wearing the Darth Vader shirt here. You are someone that, there's a couple of things that are in here to talk about. Number one is, when I look at you and I hear you and I think of someone who has a very good control and understanding of their voice. And to hear you say that you were very insecure about your voice leaves me questioning, at what moments in your life are you harnessing this power to, you know, resonate in these deep, powerful tones? I mean, we're talking about someone like James Earl Jones that you were, you know, for those of you who don't know, just go to Evan's TikTok or Twitter, wherever you have it everywhere.
I got it pinned on my Twitter.
On the Twitter, and listen to his kind of take on doing Darth Vader, because there's a huge conversation in here with, you know, AI taking over the jobs of voice actors and what they can bring to it. And Evan very clearly and meticulously outlines, this is why we need some real people behind these characters, because there's a level that can't be replicated yet, and hopefully never, by AI. It's so authentic and unique. But your authenticity of recreating James Earl Jones' voice, I need to know, Where did that come from for you, and is this just endless hours of watching Star Wars and obsessing over the show and his performance? Where did that come from for you?
No. I admittedly so, y'all. Please don't crucify me. I mean, I was always like a middle of the road Star Wars fan. I've seen all the movies and I've seen most of the shows and whatnot. I'm behind on a few of them, but like, I've always been like sort of middle of the road. I think I kind of watch them for its like pop culture significance,
sure,
because it plays such a role in our lives. But upon doing like research one day about James Earl Jones, I didn't realize he was also very shy as a kid as well, and also was had a lot of reservations about speaking out loud. I was like, oh, relatable content. But then you just see how he just shone. Like, it was theater in college. It was the first time where like my voice, as I've spoken about before, was not only encouraged to use but celebrated. And that was like very foreign to me. I was like, no, everyone's like, I said, not everyone, but one person said I sound weird, and then, you ran with it,
Yeah.
But then getting to play these various walks of life in theater, people who have lived extraordinary lives, people who are much older than me, these characters who are much older than me, but getting a chance to live in their power and live in their truth really, I think, unearthed something in me. I think it really sort of began to dissolve a lot of my shyness. It began to dissolve some of my insecurities. It began to push that voice that said I sound weird to the back. It's like that scene in what's that HBO show, Our Flag Means Death. When he's on the boat and like the guy's on the beach and he's just like kind of like going at it, like he's like berating him and like saying mean things. And as the boat's going away, he's just getting fainter and fainter to the point where you can't even really hear him anymore. And that's what began to happen with theater per se. I began to find not only my voice, but I began to find my power. And I was like, okay, well then this will hopefully turn into something. So I began to lean into that power. And I think that also, not just in voiceover on stage or whatever, just as a person, just as Evan, it unearthed a lot of confidence in me that I didn't always have and didn't know was there, didn't know I would ever develop. But, getting to play, like, I think, like, for example, like Nagoriyuki, like getting to play someone who's so powerful and so badass and like, probably like chop your head off or whatnot. But like, yeah, getting to play someone like that, it's like, okay, like now is the time to really, really find your power. And again, like I said before, like the James Earl Jones thing I've been doing for a minute, but I firmly believe in not stepping on other actors' toes. So I never really put that out there in the world that I could do it, but until, one said James Earl Jones announced that he was no longer going to be Darth Vader and that he was going to go to a re-speecher, program that Disney was, bought and was going to use. And I was like, I was like, I do a pretty mean Darth Vader. I think I do a pretty mean. And I think that is the only thing I tweeted. I shared the article and I was like, I think I'd make a pretty good Darth Vader. And then what happened was my teacher, one of my former teachers, messaged me, named Andrew Rocho. Shout out to Andrew Rocho. He messaged me and said, yo, like, now would be a great time in life to jump on this, because we had to do celebrity impressions for class.
Yeah.
And everyone chose something, and I chose James Earl Jones. I did the Mufasa monologue, and he was like, it's brilliant. Like, that's so close to like how he actually sounds. I'm floored. So he knew I could do that and said, you know what? If you would like my help, I'd be glad to help you with this. We should film you doing it so people know it's you. And I think, going back to what I said, I always try to like connect everything. It's like, I think this is what being a good person does, because I don't have any expectations that I'm owed something, or everyone's just gonna like come to me and like, uplift me and a parade in my honor or whatever. But like, I'm oftentimes very astounded and appreciative, and I'm gonna sound like Vivian Lee. I always depend on the kindness of strangers, you know what I mean? But no, it's like, it's true. Like, I'm always astounded and very grateful for when people decide that they do want to like help me without me even having to ask, and really, really believing in me. So I said yes. I said, let's do this. So we did it on like a Sunday, and it took like 8 hours, and like I was like a little me by the end of it. And so we did like 5 videos, and I was like, I should probably lead with like the strongest. I believe in leading with strength first, because you want to get people's attention. So I asked my roommate, I was like, how should I label these? Because I'm not always very Twitter savvy or whatnot, but he was like, you should tag Mark Hamill and just ask him if you have what it takes to be his father, because apparently he was like, he eats that stuff up on Twitter and whatnot. I was like, okay. Yeah. So I was like, in the morning I posted it, or I was about to post it, and I almost chickened out. I almost didn't even post any of them. I'm really gonna get crucified with what I'm about to say. It is no mystery that Star Wars fans can be some type of way sometimes. Putting it very delicately, they can be some type of way. So I was like, Evan, like, do you really want to like
walk into this fire?
Yeah. I'm seeing nothing but, Claymore mines and tanks in the distance. I'm like, I don't know if I can run through this field. So I was like, I said, nope, you did all that work yesterday. I showed it like a couple people. They're like, it's brilliant. Like, I was like, you're right. Like, no fear. Boop, posted it, full of the arms, right? And like, it was doing pretty well. Like, it got some traction. And then I don't know who this person was, but someone shared it, and they have like 1 million followers. And so then it really kind of started to uptick. I was like, wow. Yeah. And then within an hour of that is when one Mark Hamill saw it and responded with like, excellent work, Pops. I was like in my room, collapsed, came back to life, and then collapsed again. I was like, wait. I was like, no. This is like, I went to the profile. I was like, this can't be the Mark Hamill. And it was. And so then the next day on Twitter, I think Darth Vader or Vader was trending. And when you clicked it, it was just all me. And I've never trended for anything a day in my life. This was like very, very foreign to me. And then Wednesday, there was an article on Screen Rant about me, and then, which was really great because I don't know who this person was, but shout out to the article. Thank you for the endorsement. Yeah. They made a really strong case based on what we were talking about earlier of like, hey, maybe AI isn't needed per se for like very iconic roles. I mean, like, multiple people have been Mickey Mouse, multiple people have been Bugs Bunny, and various other animated characters. A lot of people have done the Joker. Why is this any different?
Yeah.
And I've struggled advocating for myself most of my life. That can be a very complicated and tricky thing as an actor.
Sure.
And I will say this on camera. I have never been more confident in doing anything than it is Darth Vader. Mm-hmm. If given the opportunity one day. Like, I know I can do it very, very well.
It's undeniable. I mean, I saw that video, and I didn't know that you were posting that or anything. Like, I had no wind of it except opening up my phone.
I didn't tell anyone.
I literally opened my phone, and I saw this, and I was like, oh, someone's doing, like, I didn't even know the stuff about Darth Vader being taken over by AI at the moment. Mm-hmm. So I didn't even have the understanding of the impact of what your video actually meant at the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm opening it, and I'm just watching it, and I remember, I think I told you this. I was like, is he dubbing this, or is he just doing like a I'm like, what is it? I'm like, wait, I didn't understand the video at first because it was so good. It had me I was so confused at how good it was that after I finally started putting the pieces together and going, oh shit, no, he is doing this himself. There's no dubbing being, like, there's no like lip matching or whatever being done right now. There's none of that. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, share immediately. Yeah. How good that was. And then to understand the implication of like, oh, they were going ahead to replace this with AI. What is it for you at this point now that you've put that out there, that hopefully Disney, Marvel, whoever is watching this and they've made this decision to say, yeah, it's sufficient for us to use AI voice. What is it for you that you hope or you would like to see for the future of things, specifically in the Darth Vader predicament or other future things that may or may not happen?
I mean, like, initially I put this out there because I was like, oh, I think I would be a lot better than the AI, system or whatnot. And what ended up happening was I ended up getting a lot of messages from a lot of voice actors of various like experiences and whatnot, and saying thank you for almost leading the charge on this AI, this anti-AI movement, because I'm a lot of people express concern and worry of like, are we going to lose our job, like our whole livelihood to the machines? And it got me thinking of just like, oh man, like I started off by, doing something for me, but it quickly grew to something beyond me. This is not going back to what I'm saying, like this ain't about me. This turned into something for all of us.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what this is about, is that like, we can't, even if it ain't me, no matter what the role is, like, even if it ain't me, it can be somebody on planet Earth. Someone can do the job. Like, if you're looking for a voice artist, someone can do it. All you gotta do is look. But I think a lot of times, there are a lot of shortcuts that like to be made, and I think that ultimately affects us. And I don't want us to lose our careers to the machine. So
yeah.
I would like to, I took a swing and I threw my name in the hat publicly, and hopefully something will come of it one day. I hope it does. And if that day does come, I will have a parade for all of us.
I will just be there behind you, happily chanting, because I mean, this is going to be a case study for time where, I mean, you went ahead and made a second video where you displayed every range of emotion that is just not, like, you showed, like, this is what the AI is doing. This is everything that it's missing. And to have that be so clearly displayed was just so eye-opening, I think, to not just people in the industry, but to fans and everybody else who was like, that they may not be concerned at the level that we're concerned, where these are our jobs and these are the jobs of our peers and everything. Yeah. But to see how clearly we are able to be replaced by technology, and to not really, for many people to not understand what is being sacrificed at that cost is so apparent in the way that you did it. So while, this kind of goes full circle to what you're saying, just being in service to, while advocating for yourself, you were absolutely in service to the entire community of actors who have that fear of like saying, I mean, how many breakdowns do you see where it says AI voice to be used in perpetuity? God, that's one of those words for me. In perpetuity, for your entire life, and to just see like, oh, so I'm gonna give you something for $1,000. You're gonna pay me.
That.
And if that, let's we don't have to get down into that. That's a whole other that's another episode that we'll have to have you back on.
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, but to have that be till the end of time. In theory, they could hire this AI voice for Darth Vader and not have to pay somebody a single dime after using that software.
No residuals, it's just that, no nothing.
Yep, and it will work for free forever. It's a very scary road to think about. And so, on behalf of me and every other voice actor, again, thank you for doing that. And I hope that you get to do it because you're a kick-ass prime subject for the job. So I hope, if anybody listens to this, please, let's get this shit in motion. Come on.
Thank you. And that's the thing. Like, to the fans out there, like, no matter if it's Star Wars or literally anything, like, this is what we're up against. Like, when all of these actors, eventually retire or whatever happens, it's either going to go to another actor or to the machines.
Yeah,
it's going to go to AI. And like, if you're fine with seeing television shows and movies and cartoon shows, like, with nothing but AI actors, okay. Just know that like thousands, if not millions of people are going to be out of a job.
Yeah. And I mean, what you clearly displayed is that there will be something missing. There will be soul missing from these shows.
Yeah, that was my friend Andrew. That was his idea for the Obi-Wan ones that we did, because he was like, we should like treat this as if it were an actual session, because I think people need to, see, the Grand Inquisitor means nothing, but then like, let's show like various, different ways to say the line. That way, like, whoever's directing this, they have options, as opposed to just hitting the Grand Inquisitor means nothing. The Grand Inquisitor means nothing. The Grand Inquisitor means nothing. You know what I mean? Like, okay, like that's the only option we have. Like, what if that doesn't really match what the actor is doing?
Yeah.
Or what if we want to convey something completely different? with this character? Well, we're locked into the Grand Inquisitor means nothing. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're locked into.
I mean, there's a difference. I mean, this is what makes art so impactful, because if you take any script in the history of time, right? You give it to any director, you give it to any actors, anybody can actually physically say those lines, and it's what makes acting look seemingly easy or effortless to people. Yeah. But it's the things that happen in that nuance is what affects people. And you can't really quantify that, because there's no like metric to say, like, other than having people sit in front of the TV screen and have them watch The Grand Inquisitor means nothing from a line and just have no expression, versus the nuance that is happening at such a micro level that you can't even detect sometimes to see the way that it affects the audience. And we will absolutely lose that with AI technology.
Because even on-camera actors, like, look at actors who famously speak at like a very low volume.
Yeah.
Like, we, the audience members, are always, whether physically or internally, we always lean in to hear what they're going to say, because it just changes the entire trajectory of whatever story is being told. And I think that's important.
It is. It's extremely important, and I'm happy you have my support. And once once we get the survey out there to let people know, like, this has got to change right now, I'm going to be the first freaking signature, because it's so clear. And I hope that, you know, we both get to laugh at this in a couple months from now, where you're like, yeah, I'm actually working on the next iteration of Clone Wars. You know, that would be like amazing. That would be such a triumph.
And, you know, I don't even know if this is out of bounds for me to say, but whatever. This is how I'm feeling at the time. Like, listen, any company that ditches the AI and hires an actor, like, you're going to look like the good guy.
Yeah. Yes.
You're going to look like the good guy in this whole equation. Like, you know, you're ditching the AI and you're ceremoniously ushering in new talent. Another thing, like, I was doing like some research on James Earl Jones. Like, is there a role prior to Star Wars? Is there a role prior to Star Wars that made him famous? Like, he's done stuff prior to Star Wars, but
sure,
arguably voiceover is what made James Earl Jones famous.
Yeah.
Famous, like, specifically famous.
Yeah, a household name for sure.
And though, like, I'm not here for fame or anything like that, but, like, why can't you ceremoniously do that for someone else? Like, you could ceremoniously make someone's career.
It is our responsibility, I believe, as artists, and this is the reason why I've made this podcast and do half of the things that I do, provide resources for actors, to pass the torch down to other actors. It is such a... Imagine us as artists, we just sat and held all of the stories and all the roles and all the fame and the fortune to ourselves.
Yeah.
How many stories can we truthfully, authentically, and in an inspired way tell? It's about the story, like you said, and the best way to tell the story. Why would we want to hold these things so like this rather than to share the blessings that we've had, you know, in any capacity? Like, if I was ever in a position where I can help somebody in any way, shape, or form, if it's for the betterment of the story, then that's the road that I'm going to go down.
Amen.
Time after time. You know?
Amen. Yeah. No, you're right.
And this is a very difficult industry to make a living in. I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, you know, we talk about, you know, there's a conversation about wages and everything that we don't have to get into necessarily, but like, I believe, I don't know the exact numbers here, but I guarantee you it is close to 1% of actors that can solely survive off of acting income alone.
Yes, you are not incorrect. There was a documentary it's like a documentary or something that our acting teacher showed us when we were graduating. Is that like, it was a very dated one, but it was like, you know, 1 million people in LA are actors, and less than 1% of them actually make a living doing it. So for everyone out there, that's like every famous person and just like every person who consistently works on TV and films. You may not know their name, but you go, oh, I recognize them. Yeah. Like, that's it.
And those people are fighting day after day to stay in that area.
Exactly. So, like, when you think of, like, famous people, like, there really aren't that many when you think about everyone who's an actor. It's like, not everyone's Meryl Streep or Tom Hanks. You know what I mean? Like, some people out here just grinding and hustling, trying to get cast in, NCIS or, Law and Order.
My gosh. I mean, that's the reality of most actors' lives, is fighting for that next job. And it's so I'm really glad that you've started this in this AI sector that we are, especially for voice actors. We really need this kind of fight to happen. So
I'm going to lean into it, I'll definitely help lead the charge, I think there's a lot of benefit if we all stick together on this.
Heck yes, a rising tide raises all ships,
Exactly. So that's kind of where I stand on the whole Darth Vader thing, and hopefully, Lord willing, it'll happen one day.
Vader willing, yeah.
Yeah.
Lord Vader willing.
And that's the thing, all my colleagues now, they all call me Darth Vader or Lord Vader now. So I'm like, listen, I'm not about to talk anyone out of it.
All right. Well, Vader, it has been such a pleasure having you on this show and this podcast. You are one of the most magnetic people that I've met, and I hope to continue to see your star shine, hopefully in the version of Vader. One thing we do is we ask people a question on this show, and it doesn't have to be related to acting, voiceover, anything. It just simply is there an experience you've had that you've learned a lesson from? It taught you something about yourself. It was something that you feel might be helpful for anybody listening to this, whether that's an experience you had with a friend in your life, with your family, with an animal, with a job, or just some sort of experience that you went through that was impactful in any way, shape, or form that somebody listening might go, wow, that's going to stick with me.
Two parts of that. So one, as I've said many times already, managing your expectations. So we live in a world where not everyone is going to be honest with you. Not everyone is going to tell you the truth, and some people might straight up lie to you. That doesn't mean you should not tell the truth. You should always live in your truth. Be honest. So I made it a point that I will always, in a respectful way, I will always give everyone the unfiltered truth without being deliberately hurtful. But only when asked.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. I think a lot of people shy away from that, and if
it's kind of hard to tell your friend the truth, right?
You don't want to hurt
him a little bit.
Somebody, but there. Imagine a world we live in where nobody is willing to tell somebody the honest truth about something in the most respectful way, the compassionate way as possible.
We're all gonna walk around aimlessly,
Yeah.
It's like.
That's and I think that's something I can work on more. I think a lot of people can work on more, is being that person who's going to stand up and speak the truth when others might be afraid to. That's the only way we'll continue to find growth within ourselves and in the world,
Yeah.
It can be a very, especially in the arts and the performance, I think about it instantly makes me think of like America's Got Talent or any of those kind of competition shows. And it's like somebody might truly believe that they are the best thing in the world. And there's a difference between saying, you suck, never do this again, and saying, the position that you're at right now, the skill level that you're at right now, you need a lot of more understanding and work and practice to be able to compete at the level that a lot of your peers are competing at. Like just simply changing that sentence in two ways, it gets across the same sentiment. One is in a compassionate way, in a constructive way, and the other one is just kind of just being truthful to be hurtful in a way.
Because like whatever your skill level is at right now, it's like I don't want you to get eaten alive.
Yeah.
Because I fear that is what will happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, your skill level needs to improve, whether a little bit or a lot, like you were saying.
Yeah.
But I think just even that little bit of feedback more or less will be digested better than you suck, you're terrible, never do this again.
Yeah. I would hope so. I would hope so.
Yeah. It's like if this is something you want to do, regardless if it's voiceover or anything, it's like, like I said, just do one thing a day. Because if you're like me, you get overwhelmed very quickly. So it's like I can handle one thing a day when it comes to like a certain subject. Or, if I'm feeling saucy, like maybe two things. Like,
heck.
But like don't overwhelm yourself.
Heck yes. I love it. One thing a day, manage expectations. So much in this episode I think is helpful to actors and aspiring artists. So, Evan, thank you so much for coming on. This has been such a treat. Where should people be going? To your YouTube, your Twitter? Where do you like to direct people to learn more about you?
Listen, we'll see what's going to happen with Twitter. But for now, I'm on Twitter at Evan Michael Lee. Yeah. I'm on the gram at Evan Michael Lee. I posted the Star Wars things on TikTok, even though I don't really lean into TikTok a whole lot, but that may change one day. At Evan Michael Lee on there. Yeah, I think that's all my things. Yeah, at Evan Michael Lee. TikTok,
Amazing.
The Gram,
simple,
Twitter.
easy,
simple.
Efficient.
Yeah.
And I think everybody, if you haven't seen his videos on Darth Vader, please do so. Evan Michael Lee, everybody, thank you so much for coming on, and I can't wait to see you again soon.
Thank you for having me. I hope we can talk again soon.
Yes, absolutely. All right, take care, buddy.
Bye.
There truly is not a more radiant person that I've met than Evan. Evan Michael Lee, everybody. That episode was, I could have talked with him for hours. He just has a way that, about himself and the way he carries himself, that there is such strength and ease at the same time, where it's while you might be kind of alert into this carefree, easygoing, joyful, very bright smile that is so magnetic, he also is so real and truthful and honest. And it's kind of that yin and yang and balance that makes him such a great person to talk to, and someone who I like being around. You're not just getting one thing, you're getting the real, you're getting the truth, you're getting the hard work, you're getting the passion, the dedication. All of that is really apparent in his story and what his love is for the arts and all of his performances. Just a really great person. If you are not familiar with his work, I urge you to go listen to especially what he did with Darth Vader. It's, like you said, pinned in his Twitter, and it blew up for good reason. So much so that Mark Hamill himself was like, yeah, I dig this. So, thank you so much, Evan, for coming on. I know you're a fan of the show, as you've told me, and thank you for watching. And it was my absolute honor to have you on. So, as Vader is saying, savor the moment. Everybody, savor your moments. Thank you for subscribing on YouTube and following us on all the social medias, POX Podcast or Points of Experience on TikTok. And leave us a review on Spotify if you're so inclined. And comments on YouTube, we will always answer and enjoy. So thank you once again, and we look forward to seeing you all next week. Bye.